It is time for our December market update. As you know, real estate is hyper local, and what you're hearing at home might not be what's actually happening here. So hang on and come with me, and let's talk about what's happening in our Southwest Florida market. Hey everybody, so we're going to start today by looking at our MLS market watch snapshot for the last 7 days. And this is for Bonita Springs Estero marketplace. And as you can see here, the numbers that we always like to look at are new listings, which are 1,024. That's a great number. That's a lot larger than what we've been seeing for the last couple of years. We look at our solds, which is 524. The first thing that I want to point out is that gap between new listings and solds is starting to spread. So that's great news. That means we have more inventory coming to market. The other number that we like to look at is, the price decreases. So this number continues to be a pretty high number. We keep getting asked about this. Buyers are saying, oh, I see all the price decreases. What's happening in the market? So we do have a lot of price decreases that are happening, but in most of these cases, it is a matter of a lot of times the home was listed too high to begin with. So as we've come off of some of the highest sales prices that we've seen in the last couple of years, there are sellers who have come to the table a little late, and they're still hoping for the same outcome from what was happening, when we peaked back in April, May, June timeframe of this year, and that's no longer happening. So our market has shifted. We've been talking about it for months. We're continuing to see that shift take place. And in some cases, that is what's happening. So we're going to talk more about that as we get into some more detailed stats. The other number that we like to look at is our pending number. Our pendings continue to be strong. So if we have 1,024 new, we have 524 sold, we have 845 pendings. Now we know not every single pending home is going to sell. Sometimes those deals fall apart, sometimes things happen, but most of those are going to probably close. So we continue to have strong demand here in Southwest Florida. And again, this is our current data that we're looking at right here. Now I'm going to move into looking at some of the December stats and data. Again, this is for our Bonita Springs, Estero area, but more broadly, we see slight differences between, Collier County, Charlotte County, and Lee County, but for the most part, Southwest Florida is pretty stable. So here is the thing. It might not feel like it, but we are still in a seller's market. So we've definitely seen a little bit of a slowdown with, the interest rates, what's happening with the Fed, what's happening in the broader markets, but it is still a seller's market. So with that being said, it is a great time to be a buyer. And I'm going to talk more about that as we look. But when we look at the month's supply of homes available, a balanced market, all the experts say, is 6 months of inventory. So you have a balanced market when there's 6 months, you have a seller's market less than 6 months, a buyer's market if you have more than 6 months. So as you can see, this is a 3-year rolling graph. Back in January of 2019, so 4 years ago, we had 8.3 months supply of inventory compared to 2.3 months of inventory in December of 2023. So you can see here, as we went through COVID, when the inventory levels just really, really tightened beyond anything that we have seen here. We were sitting about 1 month of inventory for all of 2021, moving into 2022. And then we have slowly been seeing that increase. That increase is a great thing because as a buyer, that means that you have more opportunities, you have more time, you can actually breathe before you make a decision. If you want to make a contract on a house, things like that. It's really positive, the direction that our market is moving, whether you're a seller or whether you're a buyer. So the next piece that we like to look at is the sales price. And right now we are looking at single family homes and we're looking at the median price. So again, if we look at our median price for December, it was $650,000 for Bonita Estero. We had our peak here in May at $750,000. So you can see we have a little bit of leveling off. Well, really, we have a little bit of a decrease, and then we have been kind of leveling off the last few months. So we are, excited about that market correction that's just kind of happening. Now, what I would like to point out is that while yes, the peak was in May, these sellers here who are coming onto the market with our average price point at $650, are still, when we go back, to January 2019, that number was $422,500. We have a lot of equity in our market. Anybody who has bought a home in the last 1 to 10 years is sitting on a ton of equity. I point that out just to, make the point that this is not 2008. So we do not anticipate with that level of equity that we're going to see many foreclosures and short sales. We have investors and people who are looking to get a good deal. Yeah, we're not really in that market yet. Doesn't mean that there might not be a good deal to be had, but what we know is our market's softening. Sellers are having to come to the table. Buyers are having to come to the table, but we are not seeing any kind of major collapse. So if you're watching the news, you might be hearing different stories. Just remember, real estate is hyper local. That is not what we're seeing here in Southwest Florida. I do not have a crystal ball. I wish I could predict what's going to happen, over the next 12 to 24 months. But from what we're seeing right now, we're seeing a really nice correction. We're seeing a little bit of impact. The other thing that is impacting a lot of real estate across the nation is the high interest rates. Yeah, we are definitely feeling the effects of it here, but the reality of the Southwest Florida market is we are about 60% cash. So it does not have the same impact here that it has in a lot of markets across the country. All right, so next I would like to look at the days on market. So this is an important stat if you are a seller for sure, because we have seen that creep back up a little bit. So again, we like to, look at the history, and we see January of 2019 was 50 days on market. We kind of sat here. If we're looking at single family homes between, 45 and 60 days a few years ago. As we got into our frenetic COVID market, everything started going down. It has stayed really low all of the last 2 years. You can see here you had, houses were on the market 4 to 6 days. You had to make decisions very, very quickly. So we are seeing that creep up a little bit. Bonita Estero, we're currently sitting at 17 in December, but you can see October, November, 20 days, September, 20 days. In our broader Southwest Florida market, we're seeing, about 35 to 45 days if you look more broadly. Now, if we look at condos for the same, they've kind of been just as popular as single family homes. So our condos are currently sitting at 16 days. Same, we saw the market time increase a little bit after Hurricane Ian. We had many people who were displaced and had to make decisions right away. And then we kind of had, a bit of a pause in our market and what's happening with everyone else. And now we're seeing our activity level pick back up as we come into the new year, which is our season starting in January. So on that note, we want to talk about our new listings coming to the market. So our population increases here in Southwest Florida. The old number was, 33%. I have not heard a new number, but I would not be surprised to hear that number might be a little more than that. So we have a beautiful place to live. A lot of people like to come in winter here. So here's what that does to our inventory. So we're looking at new listing numbers here, and you can kind of see every year in January, we see a little bit of a jump. Then throughout the year, they go back down. January, they come back up. So this is normal for us. So when we think back to that 7-day snapshot that we started with our just over 1,000 new listings this week, we are on par with kind of how historically the market has moved here in Southwest Florida. That continues to go. Now, just kind of coming off of that with all these new listings, and we're talking about pricing. So this is just kind of, a side note for anybody who is considering listing their house for sale. price is the most important marketing tool that we have. So when we look at those price decreases and we look at all those are people who price the home too high to start and they are chasing the market. In some cases, they're missing the mark by a lot. In other cases, they might just need to come down, 1% to kind of get within to where a buyer sees the value in the home. Because at the end of the day, the seller doesn't set the price. The real estate agent does not set the price. The market sets the price. So in order to sell that home, you have to have a buyer who sees the value in the home and comes and is willing to pay the price that both parties agree to. So, when you're talking pricing strategy from a seller, again, the peak is gone. We are now just seeing a little bit of a softening, but again, here was our peak. We're still in pretty good shape if you look comparatively to 2 years ago, and that's condos, but the same thing with single family homes. We have just been rising and rising and rising and rising. We peaked. We're coming down a little bit of the backside, but still a tremendous amount of equity over purchasing a few years ago. So that's great news. If you're a seller, there's still a great market for you to sell. And honestly, it's great news if you're a buyer, because we are seeing a little bit of softening and we are seeing incentives come back. We are seeing negotiating come back. We're seeing time to make a decision come back. Those are all really, really positive things. Now, real quickly, I just want to talk about new construction. We have a lot of customers who are currently building new construction, and we have customers who are interested in new construction. I would love to talk to you if you're considering going this route. I would love to give you a down and dirty and a more detailed analysis of what is happening in the new construction market. But like everything else here in Southwest Florida, we saw things, peak earlier this year. So their peaks are a little different than what we saw in resale, but March is what we're seeing. We're seeing a second one there in August. So they had a really good month there. And then again, we saw a little bit of slowdown and softening after the hurricane. And now things are continuing to be, fairly solid, but there are more incentives and there is more opportunity to have discussion than there has been in a few years. So if you're considering this route, definitely reach out. I would love to talk to you about it, give you the scoop on what's happening. I've had people in pricing this week, I've had people go to contract here in the last couple of weeks. So there is still a market for the new construction, and there's still a lot of building happening. We still have a lot of good opportunity here for that. All right, so that's kind of the scoop on what's happening in December. Look forward to giving you an update and see what's happening as we move into our season and see what January has to bring. So what questions do you have? You can put them in the comments below. You can always reach us by texting or calling 239-776-6872. You can find us on social media. And if you're interested in moving to Southwest Florida or anywhere else in the country, or if you have questions that go beyond what we just talked about in this December update video, then please reach out. We would love to talk with you. We would love to plan. We would love to answer any questions you have about moving to Southwest Florida. In fact, if you're considering moving to Southwest Florida and you're not sure where to go, you should watch these videos here that give you a couple different neighborhood tours, and you can start getting an idea of what it's like to live the Southwest Florida lifestyle.